Going back, you referenced earlier issues with alcohol. You also had been you're bipolar, is that, or were?
Yeah, I don't like that term. I actually regret having used that, because I think in everybody's mind, when you use a term like bipolar, what they do is they stick you in a box that, you know, for half your life you're a fruitcake and the rest of it you're all right, which is just wrong. I think that really what I am is somebody who has, or did have, very high highs and very deep lows, and that was me at the time. Over the years that's evened out. I'm not the person that walked in here 25 years ago, 27 years ago, however long it was, to start broadcasting. Very different. I've grown a lot, I've matured a lot, and I've seen a lot of things, and as a result of that you know how to cope a lot better. Michael Slater, who has had the term bipolar associated with him, the former Australian cricket opener, he said to me once, "Murray, I think you're unwise to use that term." He said, "I've avoided it because people box you up and they think that you're a nutter if you use the term." And I think he's right. We don't really understand mental illness at all, and most people don't want to understand it either. John Kirwan has done a lot in this country for helping men to look at depression in particular. And I think in a job like the media, you're going to go through highs and you're going to go through lows, and you've got to learn how to cope with them. My advice to people would be, having been through one really bad breakdown in 2003, and it was a serious breakdown, I didn't think I'd get out of it. Not to take things so seriously. That's the essence of it. You start to take yourself too seriously, you start to work too hard, and you get on the spiral and you think, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Mate, I don't do one thing that I don't want to do, and I haven't been doing one thing that I haven't wanted to do for at least the last 10 years, ever since that happened in 2003. And you know, I'm pretty cruisy, and I enjoy a different type of life probably from the other 68-year-olds around the place. I went to, for example, I went to Taylor Swift on Saturday night. Now, I was the oldest person at Taylor Swift, and Sharon, my wife, said to me, what are you going to do if people see us here? And I said, I don't know. What do you mean by that? It wasn't worrying me. She said, well, we should pretend that we're looking for our grandchildren. But, I go to things like that, and I do things which I think a lot of other people don't do, because I don't really give a toss what anyone thinks about me. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I should answer your question on alcoholism, though. Yep, I'm 100% alcoholic, no question. I'm also been sober since the 14th of January 1978. Now, that's probably older than you are. It's a hell of a long time. And I do that by going to, the fellowship, which is internationally known, but an anonymous fellowship. And I would go there twice a week still, for an hour each week, each time. And I would listen to other alcoholics telling their story. I'd chip in if I'm asked to speak, but most of the time I listen and I learn, and it has been the most important lecture room that I have ever been at. I've learnt more about people. I've got a wider cross-section, as you're possibly aware, of acquaintances than anyone else would have in Auckland. I do have a huge cross-reference because alcohol destroys people, and so I know people who are still right at the bottom of the gutter, and at the same time I'm being asked to interview our top sports people or the Prime Minister. So I've got the whole cross-section of New Zealand society. And I would think that having been a member of that fellowship for the length of time that I have has allowed me to understand people when they're down and out, to feel for people when they're down and out, and to love them. And it has been the most important thing I've done in my life. And in fact, I'd go further and say to you, it is the central thing in my life. If I was not sober, I would not be able to do anything. And it's as simple as that. Alcoholism affects 1 in 10 New Zealanders. It affects 1 in 10 people worldwide. We dodge it in a big way. We don't like to talk about it. We feel uncomfortable about it. There are definitely major business interests that want it to remain like that and not be talked about and not be dealt with because they're making so much money out of it. But in reality, in our country, we handle booze worse than most other countries. Our binge drinking is ridiculous and stupid. And the fact that so many people get so aggressive and want to belt each other when they're drinking, you know, it should be something about being good fellowship and something that people enjoy. So I am one of the very lucky ones. There aren't too many people who can look at you and say, yep, I've been sober 36 years. And I would hope that the most important thing that I can do in my life is to die sober.
You've also used your experiences a lot to help others.
Yeah, I have. And that, you know, I don't want to make myself out to be some martyr or some nursing agency or anything like that. But, yep, I think I've talked to a lot of people, and because I can relate reasonably well with people, a lot of young men have come to me over a long period of time. Some have only needed to come once, and they have been so convinced that they've got a problem that they just stop drinking. And they don't go to AA, but they just stop drinking, and that's fine. Away they go. Then, of course, you have others who, you know, you introduce them to a program of 12 steps for living, and they dabble in it for a while, and they go away, and they slip and they slide. Everybody has their time for when they're going to get sober. But the reality of it is this, that you have three chances. If you are alcoholic, you are either going to drink yourself to an early death, and a lot of people do. You are going to kill yourself, and a lot of people do. Or you are going to get sober and you're going to lead a normal life. And there are only three choices. There's nothing in between. There is no grey area. It is stark, and it is really, really tough. So you grit your teeth and you hold on tight till your knuckles turn white, and you just hang in those early months to get rid of the addiction out of your system, and then to learn a new way of life. And for me, it's been important.